Hi guys, I'm back with another video, and this one is gonna start an absolute war in the comments. I've wanted to make it for years. Today, I'm finally pulling the trigger. I'm about to tell you why One Piece, the most popular anime on the entire planet, the show everybody calls a flawless masterpiece, is honestly one of the most frustrating things you will ever sit down and try to watch. You heard me right. I'm calling One Piece the worst anime ever made, and I brought 10 reasons to back up every single word. Before the One Piece army kicks my door down, let me be clear about what this is. The story itself is not trash. What I'm saying is that actually experiencing this thing in 2026 is a nightmare, and almost nobody who loves it will tell you the truth about that. If you have ever started One Piece and quietly gave up halfway through some arc, this video is for you. And I already know half of you are typing, it gets good after episode 100 right now. So go ahead and fire that comment off, because that exact line is reason number 9 on my list. Let's get into it. Number 10. The art style is genuinely hard to defend to a newcomer. One Piece has that rubbery, stretched out look where arms turn into noodles and faces twist into shapes that barely read as human. A single character can look 3 different sizes depending on the scene. Longtime fans call it charm. A brand new viewer in 2026 usually calls it a reason to close the tab inside 10 minutes. Put it beside something like Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen, where the very first frame already looks like a feature film, and One Piece can come off like a cartoon beamed in from another decade. The look has loyal defenders. As a first impression for someone deciding whether to commit years of their life, though, it's a brutal sell, and that matters way more than the diehards want to admit. Number 9. The fan base might be the single most exhausting part of the whole experience. You cannot post one negative opinion about this show online without 3 people swearing that you just don't get it, or that you haven't earned the right to speak until you've cleared a few hundred episodes. Think about how unhinged that sounds. No other hobby on earth makes you sink 400 hours into it before your take is even allowed to count. That gatekeeping shoves more people out the door than it ever pulls in. And the legendary "it gets good later" defense is really just a confession that the early game is a slob. When your most loyal fans have to warn strangers about the first 100 episodes, that is not the flex they think it is. Number 8. The recaps and the openings quietly eat your life. For hundreds of episodes, this anime ran what felt like 2 full opening sequences back to back, then stacked a recap of last week on top of that, week after week after week. Fans who actually timed it found the padding can shrink a 22-minute episode down to around 16 minutes of new story. So you press play expecting a full episode, and a thick slice of it is footage you already watched 7 days ago. Now multiply that by more than 1,000 episodes. You have poured a frightening chunk of your life into stuff you've already seen. Number 7. The filler problem is very real, even when the percentage sounds harmless. People love repeating that One Piece sits at only about 10% filler, like that wins the argument on its own. Here's what they skipped. It was never about how much, it was always about when. The anime slams the brakes and drops you into some random, unrelated side adventure at the exact moment the main story is about to detonate. You're hyped! You're locked in! Out of nowhere, the crew is running a beach episode or chasing a one-off character who never matters again. That kind of momentum murder is almost worse than a show that's filler front to back, because it keeps yanking you out the second you finally got pulled in. Number 6. The power scaling is a mess that conveniently bends whenever the plot needs a favor. One Piece runs on devil fruits and a power called Haki, and on paper that system sounds awesome. In practice, plenty of fans argue the rules move constantly. Characters suddenly gain shiny new abilities at the precise second they need them to survive, and the limits of what Haki can and can't do seem to shift from one arc to the next. So you can never really tell how strong anyone is. You can never tell what the rules of a fight even are. The tension leaks straight out of every battle, because deep down you already know the writing will invent whatever it has to invent to hand the MC the win. Number 5. There are simply too many characters, and most of the new ones steals clean time from the crew you actually showed up for. The cast runs into the hundreds. Every new island buries you under a fresh avalanche of names, tragic backstories, and tangled political drama. That sounds rich until you realize the straw hats the crew you signed on to follow can vanish for huge stretches while the spotlight swings to side characters you met 20 minutes ago. You came for Luffy and his crew chasing a dream. Instead, you're sitting through a 20-episode history lecture about an island you will never set foot on again. Number 4. The adaptation keeps getting slower instead of faster. The anime first premiered all the way back in October 1999, so Toei Animation has been running this thing for more than 25 years straight, and the quality lurches hard from one episode to the next. One week, the Sakuga looks incredible. The next week looks rushed, stiff, and cheap. Here's the part that should scare anyone thinking about jumping in. After a 3-month break, the anime came back in April 2026 with the Elbaf arc, but it dropped down to a schedule of only about 26 episodes a year. That's the entire year, half the output it used to push out. The real-world story now crawls forward slower than it ever has, which means if you start today and follow it as it airs, you may genuinely never reach the ending at this rate. If you're still locked in and enjoying the breakdown, you already know what to do because we are rolling into the heavy hitters now. Number 3. The barrier to entry has gotten close to insulting. Every One Piece fan hands you the identical pitch. Just push through the first few hundred episodes, then it turns amazing. Sit with that as a recommendation for 1 second. You're asking a normal person with a job and a life to pour in hundreds of hours, more time than a full work week stretched across an entire month, all on the promise that someday, down the road, they might start enjoying it. Nothing else gets this pass. If some brand new anime this season told you to grind 300 episodes before it got good, you'd laugh and close the tab on the spot. One Piece only slides by on decades of stacked up hype. Number 2. The pacing in the anime is, for a massive number of people, flat out unwatchable week to week. The show often adapts roughly 1 manga chapter per episode, and sometimes even less, so a single fight can get smeared across multiple weeks of your actual life. Characters freeze mid-battle to deliver long flashbacks and long silent pauses while the camera lovingly lingers on reaction shots, all to burn runtime. Screaming one attack name can swallow half a scene. Weekly viewers have openly described wanting to tear their hair out, and honestly, when finishing one fight costs you a full month of episodes, I cannot blame a single person who tapped out. And number 1, the biggest reason. One Piece might be the worst commitment in all of anime, the sheer, never-ending length of it. We are past 1,150 episodes. The manga has been running since 1997, with over 500 million copies in circulation, a Guinness World Record, and the story still has not finished. Let that sink in for a second. People have grown up, graduated, built careers, gotten married, and raised kids while waiting for this one story to wrap, and there's still no real finish line in sight. Starting One Piece today is not picking up a show. It's signing a contract for a second job that could outlive your interest, your free time, and whatever patience you've got left. Think about that math for a minute. A story can be incredible and still ask far too much. This one asks for more than almost any normal person can reasonably give. Let me be fair for a second, because I'm not a complete monster about it. If you already love One Piece or you've got the time and you treat it like a lifelong journey instead of a checklist to clear, you will pull something genuinely special out of it. The world building is massive. The big emotional beats hit like a truck. There's a real reason it's the best-selling manga in history. For the right person with the right patience, it earns the crown. But for the average viewer in 2006 who just wants a great anime to fall for without rebuilding their entire life around one show, One Piece is one of the hardest things on the planet to honestly recommend. That is exactly why it lands on a list like this. So that's my whole case, laid out flat. 10 reasons One Piece might be the worst anime ever made, and I genuinely want to know how mad this just made you. Be honest down in the comments. Did you actually make it past that first 100 episodes, or did you tap out early like a whole lot of us did? Tell me the exact episode where you quit, and tell me straight up if you think I'm dead wrong about all of it. If you made it this far and you were arguing with me in your head the entire time, make sure to smash that subscribe button for more anime content just like this. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out!